drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll lock 'em. Op 'em. If he reach, then I'll pop 'em. Street sweeper, I'll wash 'em. Homicide, come and chalk 'em. Drop 'em. One hook and I'll rock 'em. One more and I'll stop 'em. Call the fighter, I'll lock 'em. Op 'em.
You are now tuned into the Boxing Bros. I am Caden, and I want to say rest in peace to the legendary referee, lawyer, judge, and the man who coined the phrase, "Let's get it on," Mills Lane. I'm here with my co-host.
Damn, it's the commissioner, aka Trill Dollar Bill. Let's go. This is G. And this guy Ned's on mute, y'all. And it's the TVE. What up, world? Go on. Hey, Ned Van Dam.
Ned Van Dam. This is Ned Van Dam for reasons we can't get into, but let's just say our recording was delayed because Ned was talking that crazy stuff before we got to you this morning. So the first topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros is Terence Bud Crawford KOs David Avanesyan with busted gloves. That's right, busted gloves. We're going to take a look at a few things and then we'll discuss it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play the audio from the incident. And the reason why I'm going to play the audio is because I'm going to show you the video later and that may get a copyright strike. So if it does, I'll just cut it out the video and then the audio will still remain. So let's listen to the audio. And in the audio, listen for the commission saying that Terence Crawford's gloves are busted as Antonio Tarver and Paulie Malignaggi speak about noticing that his gloves were busted. And then we'll discuss it.
His gloves ripped. I saw it earlier, and I didn't see anything. Yeah, both of the gloves ripped. Oh, man. I thought it was the color when I saw it over here in the last round. I didn't want to say anything, but the glove busted on the other side. Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah, you can see the padding coming out.
Yeah. I didn't want to be wrong, but I'm like, I look like the glove opened. Somebody in here. Hold up. Both gloves are busted open. Look at this. They letting it go.
Both gloves? So you heard Antonio Tarver say both gloves are busted. You can see the pattern coming out from the thumb area on TC's gloves on the right hand. And now I'll show you the actual footage and we'll discuss it. All right, here we go.
Both gloves are busted open. Look at this. They letting it go.
That is strange.
Look like the
glove open. Somebody in here. Hold up. Both gloves are busted open. Look at this. They letting it go.
That is strange.
Now notice when you see the way that TC's throwing his punches, it's not even really hard. He's like flicking them out after they acknowledge it. And he was doing that most of the fight. So both gloves are busted, and then he's throwing his punches, but his punches were like that. And look at the way the glove is on his hand. How it just looks like. And he was opening it up too. There are pictures of that.
Oh, that makes sense. That's because they Everlast, bro. You know what I'm saying? All the respect. I'm just saying.
They're ever fast.
You already know how Everlast give it up, man.
Ever fast. He had on them ever
All
fast.
right. So when I turn it over to you, one, I want to know if you watched the fight, and then your reaction to the fact that TC was allowed to continue to fight with two busted gloves, and then he knocks David Avanesyan out the same round where they allowed him to go on and continue after they noticed his gloves were busted. Conspiracy.
Oh, I definitely didn't see that fight. But salute to TC for pulling off the victory. Now, when I look at those gloves, though, I mean, I would have personally, because it looked like it was ripped open in the thumb area. You know, it's like, hey, you're not supposed to be landing punches with your thumb anyway. So I would let it rock if I was the ref. You know, but yeah, man, I'm telling you, you know, and not saying. Let me not show any hate to Everlast, just in case they may become a future sponsor of the show. But let's just be real. You know, Everlast, them basic gloves, all my old Everlast all got busted. You know, like, I don't know, it's like synthetic leather. You know, it's just low quality. So, you know, maybe, who knows? I don't know if it was Black Prime. I don't know if it was TC's camp. I don't know who's in charge of the glove budget. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they were like cutting corners, and they said, like, why would we get like these $200 Everlast when we could get these $40 Everlast gloves? You know what I'm saying? So it just is what it is, man. Everlast is known for funny action. You know what I mean? Everlast gloves, the basic ones, are like the Payless of sneakers or the Payless of boxing gloves, I'll say.
All right, so you heard it from G. He thinks it's the Everlast gloves. Trill Dollar Bill. Did you watch the fight? And what's your reaction to the?
But I do love Everlast. I'm just throwing it out there.
What's your reaction to TC being allowed to continue to fight with busted gloves?
You're on mute.
I didn't watch the fight, but I did catch some highlights on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. Not another glove gate. Hope we don't get another glove gate. Nah, gloves is busted. I don't. That's a tricky situation because you want fair play. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if that splitting of the busted gloves can affect with the leather and cause a cut, or the reduced padding that's coming out of it will make it more easier for the punch to affect the other way. Me being the commissioner, and I don't want no lawsuits and nothing on my hands, I would have called for a recess and got different gloves, you know, because it's a wardrobe or malfunction or something like that. It wasn't. It's really tricky to me because I don't.
Do we know what round it was?
6.
Yeah, and you don't know if that could have caused him to be able to
add. I'm sorry, bro. I just want to add. Tarver stated he noticed it earlier, so he's saying he noticed it earlier before the 6th round. They just addressed it during the 6th round. But if you listen to the audio, Tarver said, I noticed it earlier, but I didn't say anything.
Exactly. And why he didn't say anything, you know, because that's the thing, you know. We didn't see, man, because I don't want to make it seem like. Shout out to TC for his victory and his stoppage. But me personally, as the commissioner, Trill Dollar Bill, I would have stopped the fight and at least try to get him different gloves because that's not safe. That's not safe.
Yeah, but that could take like 10, maybe even 15 minutes.
Sometimes it takes. Well, I mean, you get 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes when and somebody can run and have the gloves on back there. You know, there's other gloves back there. You know,
I know they always have a backup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they got backup. They do.
They gotta untie, like this tape. They gotta remove the tape, then take off the gloves, and then replace it and tape it back up.
This is what happens. You get up to 5 minutes for a low blow. If you want to take up to 5 minutes for a low
but whose fault is that? That the gloves popped and they got to do it over. It's not Avanesyan's fault. So Avanesyan's supposed to fight someone who has busted gloves now because they don't want to take the time to cut those gloves and put on a new pair.
Yeah, I see what y'all saying. I'm just saying because they were in the thumb area. I'm like, It's the thumb area. I'm like, yo, you'll
But
be
here's the thing, G. Like, I didn't see anyone inspect those gloves. They just looked at the thumb area. I didn't see them like, you know what I mean. I didn't see them press on the gloves and check them out.
Because I didn't see the fight either. Was like the cotton coming out like in the
I don't
ring?
know, but there could be a whole lot of things.
It looked like the stuffing was coming out. It looked like the stuffing was coming out, and that could be from when the insert was made to pull. That I'm not saying nobody did that, but I'm just saying it could be, and that's what it could cause concern.
But what if they were pulling out the padding in the corner? You never know.
Exactly,
you know,
that's what I'm saying. With the cut there,
I was curious.
I'm not saying that did happen. I'm just saying it happened before in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, it did. Luis Russo.
Yeah, when they then took padding and stuff out the side of the glove.
So take a look. You see that? I'm not gonna play the audio, but I'm just gonna show when he's on the ropes with the glove. You see, you see his glove. Look at it.
Yeah.
So it's not. I thought he was showing like the commission or something. Oh, he's just.
He is showing. He's showing like he's.
Nah, that's like his corner. That's just his corner, though.
Yeah, that's his corner. Look at the gloves. And you hear Tarver say, actually, I'll play that real quick. Tarver say, I noticed it earlier, but I didn't want to say anything.
And see, like, and that's at a bad spot, right? Too, because where the lever cut, when he throws that punch, the lever, because the corner of your eye right here, and you cut right here. You know what I'm saying? When you throw that with the thumb area right there, it can catch you on the side.
Listen to what Tarver says.
Both gloves are busted open. Look at this. They letting it go.
That is true.
Oh, actually, I gotta play the other audio from earlier because you hear what Tarver said. They're letting it go. That shows you where his mind's at. Even Tarver.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like, you know.
Yeah. Even he's thinking like, bro, they're about to rewrap his hands, but Tarver's like, oh no, they're letting it go. Oh, hold on, let me pull it up. All right, so here it is right here. Listen to what Tarver says. Like, I noticed it earlier. All right. Oh, I'm playing the one I didn't want to play. Oh, it's the right one. All right, here we go.
His gloves ripped. I saw it earlier, and I didn't say anything. Yeah, both of the gloves ripped.
See that? His gloves ripped earlier. I didn't say nothing. I noticed it.
His gloves ripped. I saw it earlier, and I didn't say anything. Yeah, both of the gloves ripped.
Yeah, man. As a commissioner,
and if you listen, you hear the woman saying like his gloves ripped. Is it all right? And you can hear like the woman, the commissioner, saying it too. Like if you listen, like Tarver speaking, but if you listen underneath, you can hear as she's speaking after. Yeah.
His gloves ripped. I saw it earlier, and I didn't say anything. Yeah, both of the gloves ripped. Oh man, I thought it was the color when I saw it over here in the last round. I didn't want to say anything, but
and you heard her say they're both busted. Like listen to her when she's describing it.
I didn't want to say anything, but the glove bust on the other side. Oh wow!
Wow, yeah, you can see the padding coming out.
Yeah. I didn't want to be wrong. I'm like, I look like the glove open. Both gloves are busted.
See, and this is where hold on, let me bring it back.
On the other side. Oh wow! Wow, yeah, you can see the glove.
See, there she goes. So they're both busted. They're both busted.
Oh man, I thought it was the color when I saw it over here in the last round. I didn't want to say anything, but the glove busted.
And now you can hear the excitement in Tarver's voice when he's like, "Oh wow, they're both busted."
I didn't want to be wrong. I'm like, I look like the glove.
I didn't want to be wrong.
Both gloves are busted.
Now you know how we are as people, as brothers. You know, oh hold up, both gloves are busted. Like listen to Tarver where he knows that. And then you hear Paul, look at this. Like, come on now.
That's what I'm saying, man. As a commissioner, man, I know y'all gonna be like, oh, Trail, you hate. I'm not hating on nobody. I'm just thinking about the safety and what I would have done, me personally. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not hating on nobody. That's how I feel.
All right, TBE.
Man, if Everlasting send you those gloves, TC expect a lawsuit. Because you just showcase. I don't know. For me, those gloves, I had Everlast. I agree with G. They're not the best pairs for like boxing. I usually go with like Tidal, what is it, Ryder, things like that. I got a couple pairs of gloves sitting around my room. But I don't know. Like they should have stopped. They should have switched pairs of gloves. They should have given him a new pair of gloves. If he should have another pair of gloves on standby in case this happened. But I wouldn't let the fight go on like that because, for example, like Trill said earlier, Patton will come out during the fight. That would make so TC has more an advantage at that where his punches hurt more than as they would with normal padding. So I don't agree. I don't agree with like them just brushing it off like it is. But this was a cut corner and cut cost fight. So this is what you get. This is what you pay for. You know, this is expected. You know, you pay for. You go for this type of quality of fight, a quality opponent, quality of cars, and everything. So they're gonna look less. They're gonna be cheap on the budget, and it's a lot going on. I didn't see the fight last night. I'm shocked this happened. I'm shocked that. Did he say both gloves were busted?
Yeah. He not only did he say it, you can hear the woman inspecting the gloves say that both of the gloves were busted.
Yeah, this is insane.
They'll let it go on.
TC, you gotta tighten up. This is sloppy. This is sloppy, a sloppy job right here. This is a sloppy fight. This doesn't look good. I don't like it at all.
Why you blaming TC? Like,
it's not TC's fault. It's the commissioner's fault. They should have stopped that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too. But I'm just saying, I would blame Everlast. Like Everlast are the ones that designed.
Not even Everlast. I blame the commissioner. You're there to protect. That's what they're there for. They're there to protect the fighters. As that's even though they're in a fight, they're in there to make sure that everything is up and is fair. The ref included. I'm sorry. That's
all right. Can I play devil's advocate real quick? And because I agree with what y'all are saying. However, we know there's certain fighters that prefer certain brands. Why? Because like all it has to do is the ounce count, right? The weight. It doesn't necessarily mean where the padding is. Some fighters like it where the paddings, where the knuckles are. A lot of guys, especially a lot of the guys in Mexico, they prefer where the padding's on the wrist, where there's less padding at the knuckles. So that way, when you punch somebody, they're gonna feel your knuckles. Right now, there's certain fighters that be like, nah, I don't want you using those gloves. But then there's times where, hey, the A side can use whatever glove they favor, right? And we don't really say anything. Commissioners don't say anything. So if they were having a fight and these gloves pop on the thumb area, but none of the interior is actually fell out into the ring, it still weighs the same as the opponent across. And because it's the thumb area, there may not be a chance of that thumb area causing any damage to the other fighter. Now, I agree with what Trey was saying. Like, there may come a time if you like poke a person at times, maybe it's possible, right? But if the goal is to punch a person flush, right, then maybe the commissioner's thinking this does not hinder the other opponent in any way. And if we stop the fight to replace these gloves, that may be a benefit for Avanesyan or even Crawford. Who knows? I didn't see the fight. But maybe they're thinking Crawford's about to KO this guy anyway, so let's just let it rock. That's all I'm just posing.
All right, go ahead, Ned.
I see what you're saying, G, but I'm just saying it's the gloves malfunction, and they have to honestly, just for it to be fair and clean, where there's no error on TC's camp side or the commissioner side, and there's fingers to be pointed. You have to switch out the gloves. Like, that's just negligence right there. Just to say, oh, it's just a little tear in the thumb. You can continue to fight. Like, no, it's like you open the door for like Avanesyan to say, this was in a fair fight. Like, those gloves were busted. he knocked me. I don't know if he knocked him out, things of that nature. It's too much. It's too much error. It shouldn't be accepted. They should have never let this pass. They shouldn't never let this slide. And Everlast is a company where they sponsor many boxes and they provide many gloves. So I know TC had more than one pair in his locker room, or for him if anything like this happened. And this is not right. I don't see like how they could let this slide. Like in basketball, there's been times where players' shoes torn on the court and they go in the locker room and get another pair because they have multiple pairs ready for them just in case that happens. And for them not to take the time out just to switch out gloves, it's just bad. It's just bad for the sport.
Wow. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing how forgiving people are and how they're willing to give the benefit of the doubt when the fighter isn't Canelo, when the fighter isn't Tyson Fury. If Canelo would have knocked someone out the way TC knocked out David Avanesyan with 2 busted gloves, all we would have been hearing is he's a cheat, he's the golden boy. They would have got away with it. Let's add the fact that if Canelo would have done that in Mexico, in his hometown, where his commission saw his gloves were busted and said, "Oh, it's okay, and then allowed him to fight in the next round and did it, people would be saying he's a cheater. People would be saying that boxing's trying to help him. It's a conspiracy to help him win. People have made that argument for Canelo and about Canelo for less. You know the stories about Canelo. He always got a judge in the hip pocket. He always got this. Here, Tyson Fury, we see Tyson Fury. They don't like the way his glove is moving on his wrist. They don't like the way his wrist is flicking. So they say that his gloves were tampered with. Here's a man who has not one glove that busted, but has 2 gloves that busted. And people are saying, well, he was going to win anyway. Like he gained no advantage at all. How about the fact that he was hitting David Avanesyan for 6 rounds with a defective pair of gloves? Does that not matter to anyone? How do we know the gloves were defective? Look at the people who were paid to sit there. They didn't even want to talk about it. How do I know? Tarver says it. Tarver goes, I didn't even want to say anything, but why didn't he want to say anything? Because the A side was the one. Because the A side was the one getting the advantage with the brick gloves. He didn't want to spoil the money. He didn't want to spoil the bag. Remember, Tarver used to work for Showtime. He used to call the fights for Showtime, and then he stopped getting booked. I don't know what happened. I always thought Tarver was great at calling the fights. He's one of my favorites at calling the fights, which brings me to the next guy, Paulie Malignaggi, who I think is great at calling the fights. He was also one of my favorites at calling the fights, but things happening. Paulie was, Showtime. He had issues. Paulie made a few comments that people didn't like or whatever. And now Paulie's not calling fights. So you got these 2 guys who are just happy to be getting a shot. And they're like, I don't know if I want to call this out right now. But when you listen to them speak, you hear Paulie like, wow, okay. And Tarver goes, and they're letting it go on. Like, let's listen to what they're saying. Now, if you would have called Canelo out for this, you should call TC out for this. And I know there's a whole bunch of you who make arguments that Canelo's the golden boy and he gets away with this, he gets away with that. I've never seen Canelo get away with this. I never seen Canelo have 2 busted gloves while fighting in his country, in his hometown. The commission look at his gloves and say, it's okay, keep fighting. He immediately knocks a guy out. Go ahead, G.
Again, I got to play devil's advocate. I see what you're saying. However, we don't see Canelo in fights with no-name people. Canelo's usually in a championship fight.
What was that dude that he was just in there with that wanted to take pictures with him?
Wait, hold on. What point are you getting at? What's the point?
What I'm saying is the reason why people were so adamant about, say, Canelo or Tyson Fury is because the person that he's going up against, these guys that they're going up against, have fans. This Avanesyan guy, he's a no-name. So they're probably like, who gives a damn? You know what I'm saying? That's why people ain't really up in arms about TC's busted.
If your argument is that a lot of people didn't even see the fight, I'm with you on that. Yeah, you're right. Okay,
I hear what you're saying, G, but no. Because if he happened in that fight, you remember that fight with Canelo had with that IBF mandatory, what was his name? Yildirim or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That happened during that fight.
If it would have happened during that fight, people still would have been on Canelo. They still would have.
I think people wouldn't even give a damn. They were like,
they look for any reason.
Nah, they would have. They definitely would have been on Canelo. They would have been like, oh, when he had to cheat to beat Yildirim, who's not even a ranked guy. Oh, they would have been all over him.
So what he
Look
been
at Tyson
doing
Fury.
before?
Look at Tyson Fury. There's literally nothing, no rip gloves, anything. People don't like the way his glove was flicking or whatever. They don't like the way his fist look in the glove.
But however, that's not the commission. That's just angry, butthurt fans. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not talking about the I'm talking about the fans.
But for one, nobody watched this fight, and then two, I don't think Everlast. No disrespect to my man's. I don't know who he is. God bless him. I don't really think he has a fan base like that. You know what I'm saying?
It's not about him or his fan base. That's not what it's about.
But that's your fan base is going to be the people that's going to be like, nah, TC cheated. Yo, he got loaded gloves, or they tampered with the gloves. He don't have fans. Nobody watched the fight, so it's silent.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter. My point still remains that if it was any of those other guys, I don't care who they were fighting. I believe people would have been coming out saying that they were cheaters and questioning how all these things fall into play. And then you can say that no one watched this fight, and that's a factor, and that's a factor in why people aren't outraged. And I would say that is a logical point. Like that could be why. But even the people so far who know about it, like for example, I've seen comments that, well, Crawford was going to knock him out anyway. Really? So not acknowledging that he possibly gained an advantage by beating up on a man all night with a defective pair of gloves. Right now, if I'm hitting someone, now remember, they don't just wear gloves, they wear hand wraps, tapes and gauze and all types of things. And if you're just hitting someone with raw tape, raw gauze and all, and these gloves defected to the point where the padding is stuffing out of the glove, who checked to make sure that the knuckles were fine? Who checked to make sure that TC's glove still would have been the type of glove that was approved for combat? And I'll give you an example. G makes the assumption that, oh, well, it's the padding, there's nothing showing the padding fell out of the glove, so the glove probably still weighs 8 ounces. Again, that's an assumption you're making. That's something we should have known. That's why all the safety protocols are put in place. So once you see that padding is coming out of this glove, the one thing we know is that glove is defective. So we know that that there needs to be a new pair of gloves. So, I mean, there's a few points I want to hit. I heard, oh, blame Everlast. Just because you bought a pair of Everlast gloves at, Dick's Sporting Goods, that don't mean that doesn't excuse TC. We see like hundreds of fighters fight using Everlast, and we never seen the padding come out of their gloves. Because there's a difference between buying your basic brand Everlast gloves from the sporting store to punch a bag, and then there's a difference between professional grade pair of gloves for a championship title defense that are custom made with your TC logo on it and all that. So if he's cutting corners and not purchasing the type of gloves that he's supposed to be buying, then it's not on Everlast. It's on the commission. It's on everyone. And the commission was the one who sat there ringside and saw that there was padding coming out of his gloves and said he can continue fighting. Not Everlast. Everlast made a pair of gloves. It busted. That happens sometimes. That's why the rules are you have two pair of gloves. You have your main gloves and you have your backup gloves. Just like you have your mouthpiece and you have a backup mouthpiece, right? Because we know things happen. They didn't even want to go to the backup pair of gloves. I'll tell you something that's even more sketchy for me. When Ned brings up the point that we've seen sneakers bust. True. I remember Zion's sneaker bust when he was playing in the NBA. right? I remember that Zion Williamson, his sneaker bust, or maybe it was maybe it was college. I think he was still at Duke in the sneaker bust, right? I get that, but what are the odds of both sneakers busting, right? You could even hear the shock in the voice of the commentators where they were like, "Oh, one glove bust. Oh, both of them are busted. Both of them. Now, both of them." That's a little bit more than defective. Now it's like, oh, wait, so one glove, now the other glove. Come on, you got to admit that's more sketchy. That's like if I'm going to go up for a dunk and then both pairs of shoes bust. I even think with N1 when they were a new up and coming brand and they were trying to make their way in the game. N1, they got Stephon Marbury and he played in a game with one of his shoes and it bust. I think it was only one shoe that bust. It could have been both, but if I recall, it was one. My point is very rare for both of them. Both gloves now. So now, G, since you the one, you came and you said your pair of gloves were defective from Everlast, right? You said that they bust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they bust after your first use?
No.
Did they bust after your second use?
No.
Let me ask you a question. If you had to estimate around the time when those gloves busted, how many rounds of hitting the bag, hitting the mitts, and working out with them same pair of gloves did you put in before those gloves busted?
Well, before I'll answer that.
That's a simple question.
I don't know. However, again, those gloves were 16 ounces versus TC's 10 ounces.
Well, again,
I'm just saying.
You were punching mitts, you were punching heavy bags instead of human flesh, all of which is a lot harder. But again, how many rounds did you put in with them?
No, I agree. Way more.
See how you're not answering the question. So what that means, people, is he put in way more than 6 rounds with those gloves. He put in way more. And at the end, let me ask you a question since you don't want to answer the question. See, this is how you know the question. Hold on, let me ask you a question. Yeah. When you bought those pair of gloves, were they busted and defective after you punched the bag for 6 rounds?
No.
Ned, you said Everlast was bad brand because the gloves busted, right? When you bought your Everlast pair of gloves, did they bust after you used them for 6 rounds?
No.
How long after buying those pair of Everlast gloves did they bust?
Like 6 months.
So you mean 6 months. And in that 6 months, if you want to estimate, how many rounds of hitting a bag and hitting mitts did you put in with those gloves?
I put in a lot of rounds. I say that.
Would you say over 6 rounds?
Yes.
Would you say over 12 rounds?
Yes.
Would you say over 100 rounds?
Yes.
So is it fair to say that you're being misleading when you say that Everlast is a bad brand because you put in over 100 rounds with the same pair of gloves and then they eventually bust?
Yeah, I'd be misleading.
Shout out to Everlast.
I plead the fifth. Yo, hold on.
Thank you.
I don't know what he's talking about. Hold on.
Thank you.
On. Let me cross-examine Ned. You know what I'm saying? Now, Ned.
You gonna refresh Ned G? Go ahead.
Nah, I'm just like, yo, Ned. Nah, go ahead, G. Spit Ned. I'll say this. I see what you're saying. However, this is the difference. When you compare Everlast to other brands, right? You can see the difference in quality. You know,
what other brands, G?
Tidal. What's the one that I got? Rage in the Cage. What's the one that Canelo uses? The custom made ones that the Mexicans.
Let me ask you a question, G.
Yeah. What's up?
Have you ever seen a professional boxer wearing Tidal pair of gloves?
No.
Have you ever seen a professional fighter wearing Rage in the Cage gloves?
No.
I rest my case. I rest my case.
However,
I rest my
case
use because G.
Hold on. What I'm saying is this, and this is why I kind of feel like I hope I feel like Everlast is gonna flag us. I hope Everlast does not do this.
Everlast ain't gonna flag us because they listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, remember, I made a clear distinction. there's the difference between like the pro level, pro grade Everlast gloves and the ones that you see at Walmart.
That's right.
The way that these gloves look like he got a pair from Walmart. If I'm a professional fighter, I shouldn't be fighting in those Walmart level gloves. And the fact that I've seen the TC logo on them means those were custom made gloves for TC. So because they're custom made, I have to say this mistake has to fall on the manufacturer, which is Everlast. It's not me hating on Everlast. It's just, yo, 2 gloves doing the same damage.
How can you blame Everlast for giving someone what they ordered? One and two, and two. G again, G again, and this is what I'm talking about. You name 2 brands that you've never seen people fighting professionally, okay? Because you're talking about all the things that those gloves are, and you're comparing quality. Because those they make those are bad gloves. Those are training gloves.
Those are designed for types of gloves. Work. Everlast about what I wear. So I'm just asking a question.
Look at Everlast as an actual pros brand, right? When you're an actual pros brand, you have numerous quality types of quality that you put out. Right. Look at it like a vehicle. When you see a commercial and they show you the price, they're showing you the price for the base model. But then you go in there, then there's the base model, there's the medium package, and then there's the premium package, right? So that's with everything. When you go to Dick's Sporting Goods to buy a pair of gloves, when you go to any Walmart to buy a pair of boxing gloves, you're not buying the type of boxing gloves that the pros would be wearing. That's because they're thinking like you're one of those dudes who are going to go in the gym or whatever. They don't make the gloves for G, big man with punching power who has good technique. Nah, you gotta go buy something else. So if you buy,
hold on, you're making a defense for me.
No, I'm not making a defense for you. I'm not making a defense for you. You're interjecting before I completed my point.
All right, got it.
So if, for example, you basically what you did was you bought the wrong car for the wrong occasion, right? So if you buy a pair of basic Everlast gloves for a beginner, but you're advanced and you break those gloves over time, that's your fault because you were using gloves that were below your level.
I agree. Now,
okay,
that's why I object. You're making an assumption that TC ordered the wrong gloves. I would like to believe a professional at his level and the type of team that he has, they ordered the right gloves, but Everlast just sent them the wrong thing.
You're barking up the wrong tree, and here's how I'm going to get you. You just said you can tell the difference in quality from the Everlast gloves you brought from Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart in comparison to your Rage in the Cage, in comparison to your title. Correct me if I'm wrong. You said that, right?
That's correct.
So Terence Bud Crawford, professional fighter, 38 fights, all these knockouts. You mean to tell me he wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the Dick's Sporting Good quality boxing gloves and the high quality boxing gloves that he normally fights in? When he's had more professional fights, put in more rounds, done more, he's more qualified to know the difference between the Everlast cheap brand and high quality boxing gloves than you. And even you can tell the difference. So you mean to tell me TC didn't notice the difference when he was walking to the ring, G?
He probably did. I don't know. I'm gonna say this.
Yeah, okay.
Again, hold on. Walk with me on this.
Okay.
TC's trainer, Avanesyan's trainer, and the commission all reviewed the gloves, and they all were like, "Oh, these seem like legit gloves." They all agreed on it, right? No one would imagine that both gloves will pop during a fight. That means it's a malfunction of the gloves itself. So that's why I'm saying it's Everlast's fault. It's not necessarily TC or the commission. Well, the commission's fault.
Let me ask you a question. Is it Everlast's fault if the gloves were tampered with?
Hold on. Yo, listen. I'm assuming there's a fair.
No, G. Because here's what it is. Here's what you got to understand. What you're doing is you're barking up the wrong tree, and this is what I'm telling you. Everlast makes gloves for Deontay Wilder, the hardest punching heavyweight in boxing history. I don't really believe that, but I'm going to give that to him for the sake of this argument right now. The hardest punching boxer in heavyweight history has never punched his way out of an Everlast glove. And he punches way harder than Terence Bud Crawford. All the punchers who use Everlast have never punched their way out of an Everlast glove. The only time we saw a defective glove with Everlast was with TC. And it just so happens that it happened with both of the gloves. I would argue it would actually help TC if it was only one glove that popped and the other glove remained. But the fact that both gloves popped, to me, doesn't make it look like Everlast was the one that messed up. Because when you look at the incident and you look at the number of fighters who fought professionally using gloves manufactured by Everlast, and not a single one popped except the two that TC was using, that's absolutely sketchy. $1 bill.
I just want to jump in here and say that's why I wasn't blaming Everlast, because they've been a leader, a trusted leader in athletic wear and gear since 1910. And we have never heard of any issues and had anything about.
See, that's still cap. That's still cap. You know why? Because every manufacturing company has to factor in margins of error. It
Now I'm talking about how long? How long? How many times have you heard?
How long every factory understands there is a window of error. It doesn't matter. You could.
Okay, let's go with that, G. Let's go with that.
It could be like 2% chance that you're gonna develop a malfunction.
What's the chance? What's the chance, G?
Let's say 2%. I'm just making it up.
Stop. Time out. All right, I know you're randomly making up numbers, but let's say there's a 2% chance of a malfunction. What's the percent chance of both gloves malfunctioning in the same exact fight on the same exact night?
I don't know. I don't know the probability. However, if they were manufactured in the same factory, it could happen. You know what I'm saying? Like anything can happen. So I'm just saying when you
live in the anything can happen world where you get to just make up everything and grab this and keep giving everyone the benefit of the doubt, yeah, you can. But when you got to deal with what actually happened was 2 of TC gloves busted. You saw the gloves. They didn't look high quality to you. They didn't look high quality to me. They look sketchy to me. TC's been a professional 4 years, 38 professional fights. Never had this happen, but it happens on the night where he's fighting on some rinky-dink app, right? When no one's watching. It happens in his backyard. It happens with his athletic commission. The athletic commission sees padding coming out of his gloves and says it's okay for him to continue. And immediately after they say that, he knocks out David Avanesyan. And we want to act like that's just whatever.
Right. That's an excellent point. So I'm gonna say this: they're all at fault. TC, Avanesyan, the commission, and Everlast. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody agreed to have them flimsy gloves. So I don't know.
Objection.
Okay, go ahead. Why?
He's just involving and incorporating everybody now. Like, who's that for, G?
He said everybody must go. Everybody must go.
You see the lengths they go to defend a fighter like Terence Crawford. If this was Tyson Fury, G would be the first one like, he cheated, and I knew he had to cheat to beat.
Remember the glove gate? I never co-signed the glove gate.
Okay, exactly. You never agreed with glove gate. But let's say hypothetically, Fury was fighting Avanesyan last night on some app that we never heard of. And then there was proof that there was the broken gloves and all that stuff. You would have been like, Wilder's still undefeated. Yeah, that's what you would do. You would come out here. He had a cheat to beat Wilder.
Yeah, listen, if there was clear evidence,
and I clearly remember G at first when they were talking about it until all the evidence and stuff started coming out.
So watch your mouth.
At first, you was like, oh,
now
it looked real sketchy.
I know G was like, that glove's looking a little
sketchy.
This is what I did say. I would love to believe you fellas, but I need more evidence to say he cheated with them gloves. Because these dudes are just like, yo, why is that flimsy? I'm like, that's y'all evidence? I was like, I can't rock with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but let's just keep it real. If there's certified evidence, because to me, this just looks like, or maybe because I can see both sides. This could be tampered gloves or could just be a glove malfunction. Either which way, it's like if I was a commission, I'm just like, yo, man, yo, what round is this? Yo, TC about to body this dude anyways. All right, let it rock. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, do I really want to stop this fight and spend 15 minutes so Avanesyan can recover?
Listen to what you're saying. And there is one of my biggest problems. TC's going to stop this dude anyway, so let it rock. So let him continue to do more damage to someone using defective gloves that he shouldn't have been using since round one, and give him the advantage that he's already had because he's already going to win, because we think he's already going to win. And then argue that he never had an advantage because he was already going to win. See, that's that BS that I'm talking about. He never should have been wearing those gloves. Those gloves were defective from the beginning. And realistically, we know two things. We know that those gloves were defective, right? And we know that he should have changed those gloves. What we don't know is whether or not those defective gloves gave him an advantage during that fight. But it's possible they did. But people don't want to acknowledge that. They just want to act like he was going to win anyway. So, and I'm someone who thinks, personally, Deflategate, right? The Patriots beat the Indianapolis Colts and the ball was a little deflated. They think they beat them by like 20 some odd points, and people made a fuss about it, and the Patriots still got disciplined for it. If you put me on a lie detector test and you said, Caden, would the Patriots still have beat the Colts if that ball wasn't a little deflated? I would have said, hell yeah. If you say to me, Caden, do you think TC would have beat David Avanesyan if he wasn't wearing defective gloves? Hand on my heart, hell yeah.
So you sound like me if I was a commissioner.
Hold on. I think he still would have won. But that doesn't negate the fact that he was wearing defective gloves and that he may have actually had an advantage and that he should have been made to change his gloves, just like the Patriots should have played with a ball that was approved. The fact that he would have won anyway, or that we think he would have won anyway, doesn't negate the fact that he had an advantage. And that's what I'm talking about. Simple.
I respect it.
The simple thing would have been to say TC's gloves are defected. We're bringing out another pair. They're going to be inspected. And I understand it was going to look bad for the app because it was their first fight. And then they got to stop the fight for a delay for the gloves. It was going to help David because he was going to get a rest and he was starting to fade. It was going to do all that. So that's why I'm saying you don't think TC in his backyard, his athletic commission, David Avanesyan in a different country. That's what I'm saying. It's just real sketchy business. And
you're right. Listen. All right. I'll admit. It seems real suspect. But I'm just saying I could see why the commission is probably like, yo, let's just keep this rocking so he can just knock this dude down. We could go home early. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I'm saying. But you're right. Fair play is still fair play. We should always be fair. Yo, go pull out the new gloves, yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, well, we really want to see that as fans. I'm just like, let's just be real. I'm just being honest. Huh?
You gotta keep the sport honest.
Do we really want to see it as fans? How many fans really watched it?
You gotta keep the sport
and I think that goes back to your original point. No one's up in arms about it because nobody wanted to see it anyway. But what I'm saying is,
as the commissioner, though, as the commission, if I was there and it was my fight, I would have stopped the fight and had him switch gloves because I'm still there. At the end of the day, the commission is there to protect the fighters.
Keep the sport honest, G.
You know what I'm saying? That's all. Because no matter what, we don't know. This could have been, even though he's supposed to win, it could have caused more damage. It could have caused this.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know what type of damage he was allowed or he was able to cause because of those defective gloves that he wouldn't have been able to cause if he was, or maybe it wouldn't have mattered. The point is there was something happening that required the commission to act and they didn't. And I'm gonna just close with this, right? If this happened to someone else, people would be outraged. And this is where, like, again, it frustrates me because as someone who would call out the UK, if this happened in the UK, I gotta call out the USA when I see it too. You can't have fighters coming from another country, putting their faith in a commission, and then just be like, well, the commission was probably like he was going to knock him out anyway, so let it rock. So if an American fighter went to the UK for a title shot, and the same thing happened, and that's what the people were saying in the UK, we would be okay with that. I wouldn't be okay with that. Yo, no, take them off, glove them up, and let them rock again. Mike, yeah, it's a slight delay, but people going to forget about it as soon as that bell rings again. People going to forget about it. Like, I'd rather have that slight delay. I'd rather have that moment than people questioning the integrity of my commission, questioning whether or not gloves were tampered with, because now people can say whatever they want. But there's enough there to look at this fight and say, David Avanesyan wasn't given a fair shake. I don't think he was given a fair shake. Do I think TC needed to cheat to beat him? No. But knowing what I know and listening to the audio and everything, I don't think he was given a fair shake.
But you know what it is, bro. It's not about who's right. It's about who's right.
Exactly.
Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter. And please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We're just getting started. You're the boxing, bro.
Let's go.